That's special. Okay, now I'm going to go back to this conservative perspective. So if conservatism, that's why I say it's the conservatism, and people are touting conservatism, and they don't really tell you the basic principles of it. So what's happening is we're getting all spun up with passions, and we don't, what kind of crazy passions have caused us to talk in our office spaces about the FLDS thing, and it very well it doesn't get to any specific point. It's contentious. It's contentious. It's based on an ism. It's a view, a religious view, a religious confusion. Maybe being your influence of being in the modern education system over the last 25 years, and being influenced by an atheistic, anarchistic, Marxist kind of view that says that we are going to make society conform to the right social norm by this just perpetual chaos that's eventually going to settle out into this societal utopia. So it's the survival of the fittest, and the loudest member of society is somehow going to lead into order rather than chaos. I see it as chaos. So based on what Mike called about, I like what he said and his reference. Now he's applying some biblical truths, and what's happening is he's actually seeing the benefit. And I say, if something is true and you act on it, you're going to get a benefit. You don't have to have the right doctrine necessarily to get a benefit out of that which is true. It's going to happen. It's like I said, I kind of made a cause and effect kind of mentality. But I'm going to go back to my notes here, and I said, this is something that I've said before, that I'm so conservative that when I get around some conservatives, some that are in Virginia government specifically, they're really nice people, but they get around me and I think they're a little bit fearful of me because I'm so conservative. I think they think I'm liberal. They think I'm of some other camp because I'm really to the extreme. And I get around some liberals and they're a little afraid of me because they think I'm, they don't know how to take me. And I think sometimes they think I'm so liberal that I'm conservative. So I've said that before, but I have to say this. And this may get some of these people never talking to me again, even though I'd love to interview them on the show. I reject conservatism. But wait, there's more. I also reject liberalism. I reject isms. Just skip isms, folks. I reject that stuff. I reject isms. What I want is truth. What is the truth? What is your basis of truth? Half-truths are not truth. In fact, half-truths are normally used to deceive people. It sounds good. I can't really argue exactly with what the person said, but if we're distracted by the half-truth, we forget there's a bigger picture. There's the rest of the story. So again, I'm challenging my audience to not merely spout your religious political philosophy, but to push reset on your thinking and consider the basis of your thought process. What's the basis of your thinking? Is it based on truth? And actually, do you even, stop and think, do you have the capacity to distinguish what truth is? I wonder that. So that's something we'll have to consider. If there is a truth, if there is really truth, would you want to know how to get a hold of it? How would you get a hold of it? Now, it's interesting, if you actually found something that's true, would you actually apply it in your life and your political discussions? Actually, because I'll tell you what, if you start speaking truth in a political discussion, you are going to rub people the wrong way, and they're probably not going to turn their cat around for you. They're going to be irritated. And in fact, you might even get in the dog pack situation where they all gang up against you. I had something happen one time, and I had everybody ganging up on me in my office one time. And I told my wife, I went home and I just complained. I said, baby, it was a bad situation. They're all mocking me in their house, and everybody's asking a question at the same time. I couldn't get the answer out, and really they were just mocking my view. I was a pretty young guy. He wasn't real used to that yet. I went home and I talked to my wife about it, and then I got up the next day and I prayed. Yes, I did. I acted as if there's actually an eternal creator who's interested in my life. I said, Almighty God, could you save me? Could you give me some wisdom? Can you give me some little thing to say? When I go back into my office, if somebody brings this up and they say, hey, they bring up the same conversation, can you give me something that's wise? It goes beyond anything I can think of, because I'm just not up to this. I'm just not up to it. Without you, I can do nothing. And so we earnestly prayed that. I didn't plan on telling you the story, but here I am. I go back to work the next day, and I was in the office. They gave me some task. I had to go on some errand on base at Norfolk Naval Station. It's pretty large. It takes a lot of driving sometimes to take care of an errand. And on the way back, I turned on the radio, and I'm listening to Charles Stanley. He's a guy preaching down in Georgia somewhere, Atlanta, I think. And he was talking about Revelation, and he was talking about this story of the New Jerusalem in the city, and they gave all these dimensions, and he went into this incredible depth. And so I was listening to it. I did. I had nothing better to do. And I get back to the office. I shut off the radio. I go in the building. I walk in. I sit down at my desk. And one of the hecklers from the first day comes to me. And he looks around, make sure nobody's looking, like Nicodemus at night coming to Jesus, right? Just sneak up, nobody can see him coming. So he sits down and real quietly says, have you ever read that part in the Bible where it talks about this New Jerusalem? And he says, I think it's an alien being. I think it's like an alien spaceship. That's what he's telling me, that comes down to Earth. That's what I think it is. And I said, well, you know what? I'm glad you asked that question. Now remember, I asked for divine intervention to say, Lord, give me some wisdom on how to respond to one of these guys tomorrow. And so here all of a sudden I'm out on an air and I get the story, I get the whole exposition on that part of the book of Revelation. Prior to sitting down, the guy asked me the question, what do you think about this New Jerusalem? So I essentially told him what I just heard Charles Stanley say. I said, I'm glad you asked it. I just heard this. And then I went on to say, I said, you know what, but what's most important for you is that I want you to know that I went home and I told my wife about what happened yesterday, and he was kind of embarrassed, he's, yeah, okay. And I said, and I prayed specifically that Almighty God, would you give me a word of wisdom that I could not get any other way, and that I'll be able to answer somebody, that group that comes to me today and presses me for something. And then I was able to show him, I was able to show him that, hey, this situation is here for you specifically, expressly, because I specifically talked firsthand, one-on-one with Almighty God, who authored this book, and he has come through in a pinch, not for me, but for you. And he, in that one instance, was able to experience, yes, there is a creator, he's involved in our life, he will intervene, and he's looking forward to show up on our behalf. We'll be back.